All right, thank you guys for joining our work-based learning session. This is Anessa Garner Ash, and she is the Career Services Coordinator at Scott Regional Technology Center in Monette, Missouri. She has over 35 years of work experience that has included accounting and finance, industry training, teaching, college and career counseling, and building a work-based learning program from the ground up. So Anessa, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Okay, am I doing this right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, I am going to share my screen really quick. And like I said, I'm Anessa Garner Ash, and this is my 30th year in education. I work at Scott Regional Technology Center in Monette, Missouri, which is a shared time learning center. We have 13 feeder schools plus 2 private schools that attend our center. So our feeder school consortium basically covers over 1,600 square miles. Our students come from as far north as Miller, as far west as Pierce City, as far east as Billings, as far south southwest, which is in Washburn, Missouri. And we've been making learning come to life for over 50 years now. Oh my gosh.
It is now time for your next rotation.
Yeah, and school's going on, so you're going to hear some intercom and some bells. But work-based learning is a passion of mine. I hate to tell my age, but I graduated from high school in the 80s, and we had a work program, a work release program. And of course, we're a farming community. So what did I do but go home and work at the farm? But other students got to work in real jobs. And later, after I went to college, I started working at City Utilities of Springfield. And of course, that's the major utility company, or cooperative, technically, I guess. No, it's a municipality. Take that back. For Springfield and surrounding areas. And of course, there's a lot of engineering that happens at City Utilities, lots of main extensions and new construction, as well as maintenance and repair. So I was fortunate enough to work in developer services. So that's all new construction. So anytime new development was happening in Springfield, a new subdivision, new building, of course, those plans had to be approved by City Utilities to make sure they have the infrastructure to maintain that new facility, or if not, upgrade. And then our engineering department would design the electric, gas, and water for that new addition. That being said, I worked closely with a lot of engineers who were always looking for new talent, and they work directly with MU at Rolla. So young engineering students would come and work their summers at City Utilities of Springfield. And I saw firsthand how these students who started, they really probably knew their stuff, but they didn't have a whole lot of confidence, and they just grew in confidence and maturity. They actually got paid. It helped to fund their education. So when later when I started here at Scott Tech, I immediately was putting my kids to work. I taught business and business technology and marketing. And in that very last semester, because everybody was wanting my students, they were well-rounded, they had the skills they needed. And so I was putting kids to work from day one. And so that's how this program has evolved here at Scott Regional Technology Center. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and figure out if I'm doing that right. Oops. There we go. I think. Okay. Can you all see that? All right. Okay. So our mission and purpose is just to introduce students to the workplace, access to experience, help them understand the relevance of what they're learning in the classroom, out in the real world. And it also helps educators connect their classroom to the modern workplace. We've developed meaningful partnerships with business and industries as well as local schools to deliver a powerful message. Some of the requirements, like there we go. Some of the requirements for our work-based learning program is that the student must be in good standing. They must have an attendance rate of 95% or better. They must have acquired all the competencies of their program, or at least the major competencies. And they must participate in an internship or work-based learning experience relevant to their career path. And they all must agree to execute the terms and conditions in our handbook. Oops, went too far. Okay, so everything follows our work-based learning handbook. And at the end of my presentation, if you guys will click the QR code, I will give you copies of all of this. So our handbook looks like this. And I'll be honest with you, I stole this from Nichols Career Center in Jefferson City. They were gracious enough to share it with me, and I'm going to share it with you. First thing I did was go into Word and find that edit and replace, and everywhere it said Nichols Career Center, I changed it to Scott Regional Technology Center, and then quickly it felt like mine. So I took ownership right away. We didn't have to do a lot of changing to the handbook. Of course, we had to insert our non-discrimination policy, and I've tweaked things along the way. But like I said, you'll have a copy of this at the end of this presentation. We outline our goals, eligibility, the application, the agreement form. We ran this by our attorneys. All parties must sign. Students do sign a confidentiality agreement. We do have a lot of kids that go to work in healthcare and in banking and finance. So this document is very important. They're going to sign that with their employer as well, but I go over those terms. They fill a work log. But before I get too far into this, I'm going to go back to my presentation for just, so all those are listed in there. So what I've done to help streamline this process, so to speak, is created a lot of online documents and merged files. So a lot of things happen in the background, because this is not my only job. I'm dual credit coordinator. I help with enrollment. I'm the Skills USA advisor. We just took 100 and some odd kids to district competition. I also drive the bus. So a lot of things, I feel like I wear a lot of hats at times. And so I had to kind of get savvy, work smarter. So that's one of the things I want to share with you today that I think you're going to find very interesting. So if a student tells me they want to do an internship or some sort of work-based learning, and I'll throw out the words internship, work-based learning, job shadow, I don't really care what you call it. It doesn't matter. And same goes for all those. Let me back up just a second. Same goes for all those eligibility requirements. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I haven't bent every one of these rules. I've had kids that needed to go to work that didn't have the greatest attendance, but we were afraid we were going to lose them if we didn't allow them that. And some kids that maybe hadn't met all those competencies. It's just always been my mantra that I'm going to err on the side of what's best for kids. So the student, if they tell me they've got a job, they'd like to have release time from work, they fill out this online application. And it looks like this. I got to have their name, birth date, of course, contact information, who's going to transport you to your job, any limitations. Do you have other extracurricular or school activities that might limit your employment? Probably most of them are going to say yes, football, baseball, whatever. If they've got another job and how many hours they want to work. So when they fill out that application, this is just a simple Google form. It goes to a merged file. I'm going to go back to my presentation here. And then it merges to where it looks like it should on that handbook. So everything goes into place. if you guys remember the old mail merge in Word, that I use an add-on, a Google add-on called Autocrat. And I just absolutely love it because as soon as they fill out that form on Google, it merges it with that application. Autocrat is free to use. You just have to go to Google add-ons and you can find all kinds of YouTube videos on how to use it and things like that. But I use it all the time, even with new enrollment. When students fill out an enrollment application, it merges to their application. So then the instructor has all that information at once. And yet all their data is still on that big, massive, hairy spreadsheet. So that's one thing. Make note of that. That Autocrat will save yourself some time. Then the student will go through the same hiring process as an employer. Fill out their application, submit a resume, have an interview. And I always make sure that they follow up with a thank you letter, follow-up letter, note, email, whatever happens to be appropriate for that particular job. For instance, I may have students that are working in an automotive garage, which those aren't always the tech savvy ones, but they've got to follow up somehow, some way. So once all that, and they have made that agreement to hire that student, we execute that internship agreement form, which is back here. This form requires a student's signature, a parent signature, the employer signature, and my signature. Any questions so far? I'm going too fast? Okay. So now, how do you manage this beast? Right now, I've got over 30 kids out working. So one of the first things I do in facilitating this internship is I'll meet with the employer, either that might be phone call, email, or whatever. I'll ask them if they have any questions over the handbook or what's required of them. And I ask them to complete this orientation checklist. And it looks like this. It's the same, probably very similar to any type of onboarding or orientation that the employer would do with any other employees, but it's just one of those extra things that I ask employers to do when they're working with our students. And so once the student has been hired, I will send out an email and I'll put a link to this online document and just ask them to verify that they've gone over all of these things with the student. And I really like for that to be back within a couple weeks. Easy peasy. I do go visit the students. My goal is to see them at least twice a month. Sometimes that's been a challenge with the Missouri weather and everything else going on, but I do my best to go check on them. I don't always tell them that I'm coming. I like to do some surprise visits and see if they're there. I also, once a month, we do a student evaluation form. And it looks like this. Very simple, but I try to make it as easy for the employer as I possibly can. I can even send this out in a text message if I need to, so they can boom, 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 and add any comments or what have you. And then they're always free to call me if they have any issues. Okay. One of the other tools that I wanted to share with you, and you guys will get to feel this firsthand at the end of my presentation, is another Google add-on. It's called GAM, and it's basically sends out emails like a mail merge. So I can send an individual email, it's based on your spreadsheet, to each employer in one fell swoop. So I have my internship list of all my kids, their first name, last name, their supervisor's name, location, supervisor's email, a link to the evaluation instrument, because like I said, I do have a lot of students that are working in healthcare as like CNAs. And so their evaluations are a little bit different, because they're going to have a few extra things on there, such as for patient care. So this thing goes out automatically once a month. I don't have to do anything other than set it up at the beginning of the year and make sure that my spreadsheet is correct with the correct data. And I can even schedule these ahead of time. And the email will say it's very personalized. I can even put the student's name in the subject line. So I encourage you to visit that add-on. You can add that on and open any Google spreadsheet. And when you go to add-ons, you'll find it. And it is a lifesaver. I even use it when I am emailing faculty, when I've got to have a piece of information back or a question, you know, a yes, no, whatever. I can tell who has opened my email, who has read my email, and who has clicked the links. So it's very, very helpful. And especially, and then you've got documentation. Whoops. And then my next thing is the employer reflection survey. I send this out at the end of the year. What went right? What went wrong? We have some of that. If they would like to participate in this program next year, I also send out a student reflection. Oops, what went right? What went wrong with this student? I guess I don't have that on here. And I do have kids that quit, and I don't take it personally. I don't let it bother me. I don't let it, it happens. And I've had kids that the employers have to fire, and that's never pleasant either. But again, I don't take it personally. It's not a reflection on our school, and it's not a reflection on our program. So I don't have a whole lot more to share with you. So what I'm going to do, right there, if you guys can click that QR code with your phone or whatever, just pick up your phone. Oops, there. Sorry, I clicked it up. And so when you clicked it, you can just hold up your camera on your phone and it will send you to a Google Doc. If you'll fill out that information in that Google form, now you're going to get an email from me. Did it work? Anybody? You got it? Okay, in that email, you should see links to everything that I've shared with you today, as well as some of those on Google add-ons. But I want to encourage you to try to get kids out into the workplace. Work-based learning experience have numerous perks for your students and any kids. They help them make connection. They help them make the connection between the academic learning and the real world. It strengthens their resumes, as well as assess their interest in their abilities. But it also is beneficial to the employers. Employers get to test drive the talent. They get to build a pipeline of employees for their future. And they're also giving back to the community. I don't know that there's ever been a time that I've had a student come in my office and say, hey, I need a job, that I haven't been able to just pick up the phone and call somebody and they'll give them a job. And, most of these kids need a job regardless. A lot of them are funding their own education, and why not help place them in a situation that facilitates a positive future. Does anybody have any questions for me? I take that as a no. So thank you all for being part of my little presentation, my little spiel. I'd be happy to help you any way I could and share any information that I have. Oh, one thing that I did not mention, oh shoot, is our students do get a work log. I send them a work log once a week on Friday, and I set that up automatically to go out every Friday at about 3 o'clock via the Remind app. And I also use a Google form where they record their hours so that at any point in time, I can go back to that spreadsheet, even for that kid. Maybe he goes to Aurora, maybe he goes to Billings, and I can tell the Billings counselor exactly how many hours that kid has worked, because it's going to timestamp it as soon as he starts entering his information. Now, if a kid does not enter their time, I'll go back and count them absent for every day of the week and notify their home school. So they take me serious pretty quickly when I do that, about entering their work logs. But that's how I track their time. The evaluations, how I rate their performance. And like I said, I do a lot. I try to visit them as often as I can to help keep them safe and make sure that it is a positive experience for everyone. Does anyone have any questions?
Everyone's quiet this afternoon.
Everybody's tired. It's okay.
So I did put the link in the chat for the evaluation survey, if you guys would not mind filling that out. Dawn, I know you just joined. So if you've got any questions for Anessa, I'm sure that she'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on the topic.
So Dawn, if you'll click that QR code, that will automatically send you an email with all the links to everything in my presentation, our handbook, the evaluation piece, and some of those add-ons that I use.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was short and sweet, and thank you all for having me. And you can always reply back to that email from me if you have any questions or would like any further information about Scott Tech or work-based learning.